Urbana City Council, Tuesday, March 4th, 2016 at 6 o'clock. And I'd like to welcome all our extra people here tonight. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hoffman.
Here.
Mr. Pena.
Here.
Mr. Thackeray.
Here.
Mr. Piper.
Here.
Mr. Paul.
Here.
Mr. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Field.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. A little different schedule tonight. We have a special ceremony with the Fire Chief, Chief Keller.
Yes, I'd like to take a minute and have our newest captain and our two newest firefighters sworn in by the mayor this evening. Johnny Cash. Where's your wife? Where's your wife? I'd like to introduce you to our newest captain. He was promoted to replace Captain Kellenberger, who retired October 24th of last year. And I feel he's going to be a very big asset to the fire department. He already has in a lot of ways. A lot of the grants that I've come and talked to you guys about, this gentleman right here has been a part of. So very, very much appreciated. Okay, you can go on and go up here. Pinning his badge on this evening will be his wife, Michelle.
Jason, for your swearing in, just repeat after me. Raise your right hand. I, Jason Croker,
I, Jason Croker,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and loyally
that I will faithfully and loyally
execute the duties of fire captain
execute the duties of fire captain
of the Urbana Fire Division.
of the Urbana Fire Division.
I will, to the best of my ability,
I will, to the best of my ability,
carry out the mission
carry out the mission
of the division in service
of the division in service
to the people of the Urbana Fire Division
to the people of the Urbana Fire Division
Response District.
Response District.
I will uphold the standards
I will uphold the standards
of my profession.
of my profession.
I recognize the badge
I recognize the badge
of my office
as
as a symbol of public faith
a symbol of public faith
and trust.
and trust.
I will remain true to the ethics
I will remain true to the ethics
of the fire service.
of the fire service.
I will at all times
I will at all times
respect the property and rights of all.
respect the property and rights of all.
I will observe and obey
I will observe and obey
the policies and procedures
the policies and procedures
of the Urbana Fire Division
of the Urbana Fire Division
and the laws of the United States,
and the laws of the United
the
States,
state of Ohio,
the state of Ohio,
and the city of Urbana,
and the city of Urbana.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome.
If you want to see your work, you can. Okay, next is firefighter paramedic Ralph Bowman. He was appointed to the division on December 7th of 2015. Actually, to fill the firefighter position that we had vacant from Captain Kellenberger leaving. Come up here. Ralph will be pinned by his wife Janelle.
Okay. Okay, Ralph, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, Ralph Bowman,
I, Ralph Bowman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and loyally
that I will faithfully and loyally
execute the duties of firefighter
execute the duties
duties of firefighter
of the Urbana Fire Division.
of the Urbana Fire Division.
I will, to the best of my ability,
I will, to the best of my ability,
carry out the mission of the division
carry out the mission of the division
in service to the people
in service to the people
of the Urbana Fire Division
of the Urbana Fire Division
Response District.
Response District.
I will uphold the standards of my provision.
I will uphold the standards of my position.
I recognize the badge of my office
I recognize the badge of my office
as a symbol of public faith
as a symbol of public faith
and trust,
and trust,
and I will remain true to the ethics
and I will remain true to the ethics
of the fire service.
of the fire service.
I will at all times
I will at all times
respect the property and rights of all.
respect the property and rights of all.
I will observe and obey
I will observe and obey
the policies and
the
procedures
policies and procedures
of the Urbana Fire Division
of the Urbana Fire Division
and the laws of the United States,
and the laws of the United
the
States,
state of Ohio,
the state of Ohio,
and the city of Urbana,
and the city of Urbana.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
You can say a few words if you like.
Actually, if you don't mind, Chief, if I can, I'd like to say thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Nope.
Marty shook his hand anyway.
I promise the rest of my career will be better. Thank you to the council members and thank you, Chief Taylor, for this opportunity.
I'll need your badge later. Adam?
It's all uphill now.
The final one tonight is firefighter paramedic Adam Nitchman. He was appointed to the fire division on December 21st, 2015. He is actually one of the safer positions for the safer grant that we acquired. He will be pinned tonight by his wife Melissa.
Okay. Adam, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Adam Nitchman,
I, Adam Nitchman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and loyally
that I will faithfully and loyally
execute the duties of firefighter
execute the duties of firefighter
of the Urbana Fire Division,
of the Urbana Fire Division,
and I will, to the best of my ability,
and I will, to the best of my ability,
carry out the mission of the division
carry out the mission of the division
in service to the people of the Urbana Fire Division
in service to the people of the Urbana Fire Division
Response District.
Response District.
I will uphold the standards of my profession.
I will uphold the standards of my profession.
I recognize the badge of my office
I recognize the badge of my office
as a symbol of public faith
as a symbol of public faith
and trust,
and trust.
and I will remain true to the ethics
I will remain true to the ethics
of the fire service.
of the fire service.
I will at all times
I will at all times
respect the property and rights of all.
respect the property and rights of all.
I will observe and obey the policies
I will observe and obey the policies
and procedures
and procedures
of the Urbana Fire Division
of the Urbana Fire Division
and laws of the United States,
and laws of the United
the
States,
state of Ohio,
the state of Ohio,
city of Urbana,
city of Urbana,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief, and,
I do want to just real quick, I forgot to mention, Captain Kroger was appointed to the division in July 8th, 2004, and was promoted February 13th of 2016. So,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Chief, and welcome to Dune City, new firefighters, new captain. Good luck, and I hope you never have to do anything. And I guess there's cake now, so we're all going to offer cake?
There goes your audience.
There was my audience, yeah.
There goes your audience, Mayor.
Since the mayor left, I can be mayor now, right?
Technically, yes.
Well, you gotta live that down.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about over here. They're going to tear him up.
I'll be stopping by weekly.
We're married.
You'll have to make that up when Marty and Bill's going.
Right. Okay. Back to business. Next thing on our agenda is approval of minutes. Council, we have the Urbana City Council regular session minutes of February 16th and the Urbana City Council work session minutes of February 23rd, 2016. So, would like to approve those. Need a motion, please.
I'll move to approve. Second.
Are there any additions or corrections to those two sets of minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting Urbana City Council regular session minutes and work session minutes of February signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And we have no communications this evening. It's winter time still, so nobody's writing to us. Move into administrative reports from the Board of Control. Madam Clerk, number 1.
The Board of Control recommends council authorize a purchase order to Hall & Associates Incorporated in the amount of $11,000 for landfill gas compliance activities. This expense will be charged to capital improvement landfill and is in the 2016 budget. Vote 3-0.
Okay, council, to speak to this, we need a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Chad, take it away.
I'll maybe take a portion of it, Karen can jump in as need be. This expenditure is for 3 different task orders. Basically to get first is to get a file review done, public records request with IEPA, and pull a lot of the past data and history of the gas monitoring system and some of its original design. From there, they would work into building a model that would potentially show the migration pathways of the potential gas that is on the landfill, and basically come around with an updated gas monitoring plan, which needs revised anyways, and updated. The last one somewhere in the early 2000s, I believe. So there's been a few changes, so it definitely needs updated. And then to regroup back around with EPA and go through some of the bullet points that was in that letter that the city received, and kind of start almost not so much a negotiation, but discussion that some of the bullet points are redundant items that we're already doing or are in the process. So just kind of get back around this whole thing again and see what direction we need to go. Gary?
Just, excuse me, if I could just add, we talked about this in a little more detail at the work session, but again, to Chad's comment, this is the first step in our response to the EPA letter from February 4th. We met on the 22nd as a larger group with the school district and their representatives and Hall & Associates and us and the Ohio EPA, and discussed each of our positions and our letters that responsibilities we have. In that discussion, one of the key things that we wanted to stress to you and I guess to the public is, our primary goal here is to be responsive to the EPA. We have an obligation and a duty to the health and safety of the citizens of this community. So that's our first priority as we start to work through the bullet points that they laid out in their letter. Our second priority again then is to, again, stay in compliance with the EPA and follow their directives to make sure that we do, continue to keep the path we've had over the last 27 years. Again, we're in a 30-year closure plan, but I think we've mentioned in the work session, we don't anticipate that at the end of 30 years, they're going to say, good job, you're finished. More than likely, there'll be an extension of some degree, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, or another 30 years, or forever monitoring, you don't know. But again, those are our two primary objectives, and we're not going to make any decisions without proper data, without proper science, and to build a model that we can extrapolate comfortably and, put ourselves in the best position possible to maintain that compliance. So that's kind of be our focus moving forward. This is kind of the first step, is to get Hall on board fully, get them the data they need, allow them time to build the model, then meet with the EPA in the coming weeks, and let them review the data, review our practices, and establish what the criteria is moving forward. So this is the first step in that. As we move along, I'm sure we'll have more details, more facts to come back with you. But we need to get started and be responsive, and this is our first step.
Mr. Fields, questions?
I just want to commend the city for going ahead and taking the first step to try to get everything rolling so that we can show that we're not trying to hide anything. So I appreciate that, Karen.
Mr. Hoffman?
Just a quick general question. I apologize, I missed the work session there, I was sick. 30-year closure plan, is that based on any kind of degradation of the material in the landfill, or where do they come up with 30 years initially?
That's a very good question. I would think that, a lot of it would be the remediation or the degradation side of it. Some of the other landfills that I've seen on record, they go on past the 30 years. It's probably a guess in anybody's mind to a certain degree of how much waste is in the landfill, how fast it breaks down. I think it's just kind of that potential time frame that says, hey, you know what, maybe it should be 30 years or maybe it's 40,
But to clarify, the methane production from the landfills exponentially less than what it had been in years past.
That's
to the
what
point that we
the
can't
data
even
shows.
keep a flame lit
Right.
at the park. But I'm assuming with the proximity to the school that 30-year rule or whatever, whoever put that 30 years out there probably gets thrown out the window.
Right. And
From
I
a
think
safety standpoint, I'm assuming it's probably going to be an ongoing.
at the time, that was probably just a standard to give everybody a chance to figure out what they had.
Right.
One of the things we did talk about at the meeting, we talked again last at the work session, was we had a couple things in play here. If you remember, I think it was about 2010, 11, the EPA required us to put a 2-foot cap over the landfill. And what in essence that did is that was kind of an edict coming down from the groundwater side. So you've got different silos within the EPA silo. So in order to eliminate as much of the water leaching through and potentially getting into the aquifer or the groundwater, they wanted the cap put on, which for all intents and purposes kind of forced any gas that was permeating through the soil now has to get forced to the path of least resistance, which obviously is pushing it outward, any gas that is coming through. So again, that's where Chad and he's been working very closely. I think they're coming back tomorrow for another review. So we'll be looking at those routinely, and they're taking, it's a weekly monitoring, Chad?
Yes, it is
Weekly
weekly.
sample. So we'll be doing that ongoing, and that's going to help us kind of pick up the data we've had in the past, add to it with current, frequent data, and allow that to start building that scientific model that they need to get some comfort around it.
That's all I have. Thank you for your work on this.
So we don't really know any specifics yet, basically, right? So we're at step one.
Right.
So just as long as we understand that we're not saying anything in particular, let's see how the data comes back, and then we'll have a better idea of what's going to happen going forward. But good job. I think it's a great thing to get done. That's all I have. Thanks.
Mr. Scott?
No questions.
Mr. Stiker?
No questions.
Mr. Feeney?
When was landfill closed?
The
1988.
1988. It opened just, people asked how long was it in operation. I think it opened in 52, if I'm not mistaken, 1952. I think the last load was brought through in 87, it officially closed in 88, so been a while.
So, thank you.
Mr. Piper?
No question.
The wells are, the methane wells are still active wells. I mean, they're not passive wells, they're active wells, correct?
They were tested as passive. We've now removed that, and that's part of our data collection tomorrow. We've taken the passive vents off and then fully capped them. We're just trying to figure out, from the consultant's view, is it just build up, or is it actually still have any kind of production? So that's kind of why we're doing a lot of that weekly, and, you know, and going even more in depth to our weekly testing is to try to build some of that data to pin it down to see if it is build up or production.
When we closed that, the EPA was here a lot and keeping track of what we were doing. When did, I mean, I feel they dropped the ball in coming and checking on what was going on and not keeping up with it. When was the last time anybody did any regular checking on it?
Well, we
When did the records stop, I guess?
We go
the
through
EPA?
quarterly testing even prior to this, you know, 2-3 months ago. That was part of the requirement. We was semi-annually. When the cap was installed, part of the regulations is you go to quarterly. And, you know, all of our sampling's been done as per the regulation. But, you know, with this different avenue and the bullet point letter and, you know, it's escalated into a weekly, and just trying to get our hands around it and know exactly what's going on.
Okay. Any other questions, council?
Yeah, just one more, if I could. I didn't see on here, how long do we expect them to be testing, and when do you expect to have a report out of them?
As far as something from Hall?
Yes.
I'd really be afraid to guess. They're going to, I'm going to say it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks for them to have enough information to really put something together for us, but that's just a stab. I don't know if they had a cleaner date than that.
So roughly, we're talking maybe the end of April, maybe beginning of May, something along those lines? Okay. Thank you.
I'm glad you asked that. So the records we have from the last 10 years, the EPA can get anything out of that?
The city has a copy, EPA has a copy, Champaign County Library has a copy. So there's plenty of records there. It's just getting them compiled to get these task orders started, to start developing that model. Yeah, all the data is available.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more shot, council. Anything? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the Board of Control's recommendation, authorize a purchase order to Hall Associates in the amount of $11,000 for landfill gas compliance activities, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
30 years ago I opposed that, but anyway.
No.
Next one, please, believe it or not. Yeah. It was hot and heavy 30 years ago, trust me. Next one, please.
Number 2, the Board of Control recommends council authorize the Director of Finance to enter into a contract with McKesson to provide ambulance billing services for a minimum period of 24 months following the effective date. McKesson will provide this service at a cost of 5.5% of net ambulance billing revenue and will invoice the city monthly. The previous vendor's contract expired January 31, 2016, and costs 6.5% of the net ambulance billing revenue. Vote 3-0.
Okay, council, speak to this. We need a motion, please.
So moved.
I'll second.
Chief.
Well, probably with the assistance of our finance director, but we've talked to you before about ambulance billing. We just changed the rates not too long ago, about basically because of the decreased revenue we've been able to bring in. And we did some investigation, found a company that has been able to increase revenue for several other cities, Marysville being one of them. Not entirely sure it's going to be a large amount, but our demographics are different than in a lot of places, based on, the median income of our household and things like that, which kind of comes into play, whether it's Medicare, Medicaid, and we can only receive, a certain amount of money from those, and that's it. Everything else is written off. So we did go with this company. We were able to negotiate a 5.5% cost for the net billing. The difference between this company and the last company actually received some of the money, and we received some of the money. With this company, we will receive all of the money, and that's why they will invoice us versus taking out their share out of what they would have received before. So really, that's about it in a nutshell. If you have questions.
You want anything, Chris?
No, our ambulance revenue runs around $375 to $399,000 a year. So we're hoping that this change will give us a little bit of a bump in our ambulance revenue, along with the rate increase that you voted in last year. So.
Mr. Hoffman, questions?
Just to clarify, this 5.5% is off what we bill or what we actually receive?
What we receive.
What we receive,
yes.
Okay.
Mr. Paul?
So just curious, Chief, so if we have runs in January, do they invoice for that in February? Or is there like a 60-day lag?
Usually there's a 2-week to 30-day period where they're processing the bill through.
Okay.
And then it'll be sent out.
So it's roughly 45-day lag then?
Right.
Okay, I was just curious. Thank you.
Mr. Scott?
No questions.
Mr. Thackeray?
Chris already answered my questions, so no.
Mr. Pena?
No questions, thank you.
Mr. Piper?
Is this something we used to do in-house?
We did do it in-house. The billing people that we had, we kind of lost through attrition. We do have one person in finance that does assist with this at this point.
Right. Thank you.
Any further questions, council? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the Board of Control's recommendation authorize the Director of Finance to enter into contract with McKinnison to provide ambulance billing services for a minimum period of 24 months at 5.5%. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Number 3.
The Board of Control recommends council authorize a purchase order to Charles E. Harris and Associates in the amount not to exceed $25,000 for audit services for year ending December 31, 2015 for the City of Urbana. This expense will be charged to non-departmental Water and Sewer Division and is in the 2016 budget. Vote 3-0.
Okay, council, to speak to this, we need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Get it?
Okay, this will be our first year with Charles E. Harris and Associates. For the last several years, we've been handled by the State Auditor's Office. Back in the fall of 2015, they put out a request for proposals, and Charles E. Harris and Associates was the winner. So that's why we're moving forward with them.
Mr. Paul, questions?
So you said they put out the art, it was the state then that
Yes.
put this out? Okay, so these guys are hired by the state, but we get to pay them?
Correct. They chose them, but we get to pay them.
That happens a lot. Okay, that's all, thank you.
Mr. Scott?
So basically, the state's just outsourcing their audit services.
Correct.
All I got.
Mr. Thackeray?
What would that have cost us before?
Last year, it ran around $30,000.
So we see about a $5,000 savings.
Yeah,
That's
this
good.
was a 5-year contract. There were 5 accounting firms interested in our business, and these were the lowest and best based on the state auditor.
That's all I asked.
Mr. Pena?
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yep. Same thing.
Mr. Piper? Mr. Fields?
Nothing.
Mr. Hoffman?
Nothing we can say or do about it.
Is this price based on
It's based on
size
number of hours.
number of hours, but size of town, budget, anything? How do we come up with 25,000?
I think they reviewed our previous audits that were on file with the auditor's office and came to their best guess on how many hours it would take to complete it.
Okay. Anything else, council? If nothing, all those in favor accepting the Board of Control's recommendation to authorize a purchase order to Charles E. Harrison Associates in an amount not to exceed $25,000 for audit services for the year ending December 31st, 2015, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous, thank you. Number 4.
The Board of Control recommends council authorize a purchase order to F&E Payment Pros in the amount of $18,185 for the purchase of Easy Time and Attendance Solution Software, licensing, and biometric time clocks. This expense will be charged to capital improvement, finance, and is in the 2016 budget. Vote 3-0.
Council, to speak to this one in motion, please.
So moved. Second.
Okay, this is another one from the finance office. We're trying to streamline our time and attendance and do away with the manual time clocks that we have at several of our satellite locations around the city. This will enable employees to clock in either with their proximity card or with their thumbprint, and it would generate a report that can be transmitted to our payroll software so that our HR manager, who also does payroll, isn't spending all day on Monday morning going through the time cards and doing the pay code calculations and everything like that. So.
Okay. Mr. Scott, questions?
How many satellite spots are they going to take up with these?
It'd be everybody off-site, so we're probably looking at 6 locations. I think the original quote was for 4 biometric time clocks, so we'll probably have to purchase another one because we'll have an issue at the park between the pool and the park personnel where we're going to locate that one. This will also allow employees to pull up their account online and see their accumulated vacation, sick leave, personal leave, and also request time off. So this will streamline everything for our department heads and employees.
Thank you.
Mr. Thackeray.
Service contracts,
I'm sorry?
service contracts associated with it or anything? I mean, when you go to a higher tech, there's always, if something goes wrong, who fixes it?
Right. The initial expense, the $18,000, that's the first year. Subsequent years, it will run between $9,000 and $10,000.
So this is not just the purchase, it's also the servicing?
Correct.
So, okay, that's all I had.
Mr. Pena.
You said there's a thumb identity
Yes.
with the thumb on it? How soon are we going to get the retina scans in? No, actually, it's a good thing, simplify these things to help you guys out in the offices there. You gotta go that way.
Mr. Piper.
Yeah, that would cut down on time. I could see doing that.
Mr. Fields.
That's the way it's going.
Mr. Hoffman.
I like the idea of it, but going to what Pat was saying, so we outright own some equipment after year 1, or is it all part of like a lease agreement?
We will own the equipment, the actual hardware, but they will have the software and we will pay the maintenance each year.
So, but we won't be bound to a contract, so to speak.
It's year to year. If we decide after the first or second year it's not working for us, we're
Okay.
out. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would be helpful, I mean, really, to streamline billing or payments.
Mr. Paul.
No questions.
Anything else, council?
One more question.
Go ahead.
Second year cost is going to be the same, or the third year?
No, the second year should be between $9,000 and $10,000. That's pretty much software maintenance.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the Board of Control's recommendation to authorize a purchase order to Purvis Brothers Fuel, wait a minute, back up one, F&E Payment Pros in the amount of $18,185 for the purchase of its Easy Time and Attendance Solution Software, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Got it. Number 5, which I tried to pass already.
The Board of Control recommends council authorize a purchase order to Purvis Brothers Fuel in the amount not to exceed $18,608.26 to retire the debt associated with the 2015 agreement approved by council on April 21, 2015 for the upgrades at the airport fuel farm. The upgrades included the Fuel Master POS unit and Crisp injector and the Jet A fuel dispenser. By retiring the debt, the airport will be able to negotiate with all fuel vendors to obtain the best available products, rates for the benefit of the pilots transiting in our airfield. This expense will be charged to the airport fund and is not in the 2016 budget. Vote 3-0.
Okay, council, speak of this with a motion, please.
So moved. I'll second again.
Mr. Thackeray?
I can
And,
take a stab at starting it, and then
Go ahead.
Chris can fill in the gaps that I may not have. Again, last April, we brought a Fuel Master contract, which would allow us to upgrade our fuel system for point of service and consolidate everything into one system. One of the challenges that we've incurred in the last, I'm going to say since I've been here, I'm not sure exactly when the switch was made. Purvis Brothers is who we've contracted with for fuel for the last at least 4 or 5 years. And initially, the concept with that was we would be locked in to get better rates. We could, have a relationship that would pay us benefits in terms of service. And they have provided excellent service, but what we're not getting, and what we found out in the last year, is we have at least 3 other alternative vendors who would love to have some of our business. So whenever we look at needing another truckload of fuel, Lou has gone out and kind of price checked against some of the other vendors and are finding that we're paying a fair amount over what some of the other vendors are sharing with us. In order for us, our contract approach, I believe, expired last fall, but our payoff to move out of the Fuel Master would require us to pay this unit off. Then we're free to shop other vendors as needed. So in Lou's write-up, I think, kind of summarized that. And every week we get a weekly update from him, and he's always sharing what the prices are around the area. We have pilots who are flying from Urbana to London or flying from Urbana to somewhere else for whatever reason, but they're also buying the fuel elsewhere because they can save 20 or 30 cents a gallon depending on what they're buying. So the opportunity here is to take the money out of the airport fund. We're not taking it out of the general fund. It's not, we're not going to not do something else out of the general fund because of this. This is money that's in the airport fund. We're going to pay off this contract, and then allow Lou then to negotiate on various other opportunities to help bring that price down and be more competitive. We have a lot of events scheduled in the next, well, probably after this month, probably starting in April. For the next 5 months or so, we're going to have a lot of activity at the airport, and our hope is to get this switched out, get ourselves in a position where we don't have to buy from a particular vendor. We may stay with them on the, I think it's the jet fuel, but we may be able to switch out and get a better rate on our avgas. So this just gives us flexibility and get out there and shop the market rather than being locked into a vendor that may or may not be giving us the best price. So it's all about trying to bring volume through the pumps and keep maintaining our margin to make it profitable.
anything, Chris?
Yeah, pretty much, we're purchasing the fuel. We do have a set profit margin that we do make on the fuel. So even though we are purchasing from the vendor possibly at a higher rate, we're still not losing money. We're just not as competitive with area airports with our rate, so.
Mr. Thackeray?
So right now, you're losing volume, but not profit?
Correct.
Okay. I like this. I think it really makes a lot of sense. Any idea how long it'll take to pay back the 18 on the...
Seems to me when we did the quick calculation last week, it was like a year and a half, 18 months or less.
That is great.
So usually if you can get under 2 years, that's pretty good payback.
I love competition on bidding on prices, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank Lou.
Mr. Pena?
Sounds like he has a grip on out there, and he does a good job of going through everything.
Keep moving.
Yeah, that's pretty nice to have. Thank you for your hard work.
Mr. Piper?
No question.
Mr. Fields?
Now, after we pay this contract off, the point of sale unit is ours, right?
Right.
So we'll be responsible for
The only thing we're obligated, we're no more obligation at that point. The way we set it up, if you remember, and I don't remember the exact detail, but they got like a nickel a gallon is how we kind of paid this thing back. And so there was a buyout language in the contract that at any point, we would just do a calculation for the remaining of the term.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Hoffman?
How many gallons do we go through out there of this particular fuel, roughly? I mean, is it?
Well, between the Jet A and the Avgas, we're looking at probably 30,000 gallons a year.
Okay. All right. I'm just looking at the payback calculation here.
Mr. Paul?
I'd love to see debt drop off the books, so it costs us a little more now, we're going to save a lot in the long term. I think it makes complete sense. I think it's a great idea. I think we need to do it. Commend you, good job looking forward.
Mr. Scott?
I agree with Mr. Paul. Sounds like a great idea.
Anything else, council?
Well said.
Is there a place to advertise fuel prices? And does Lou do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, they publish them on the website. NAVCOM is the airport website that everybody publishes their gas prices.
NAVCOM?
I think it's, NAVCOM.
So if I go out and find out how much it's going to cost to fill up my jet?
Being the mayor and all.
The mayor.
This mayor's getting a jet, guys, just like that.
It'll be on next month.
Yeah.
Maybe that'd be 3 readings on that, right?
Okay, any other comments, council? Go ahead.
Has this company ever been approached and asked why that they're not giving us any benefits from this, or?
I'm not sure if I heard the question.
Has this place ever been notified to find out, if there's any way they can?
Yeah, Lou's been in touch with them.
Oh, really?
As he
they're saying
finds
that
other prices, he's always going back and say, Mark, here's the pricing we're seeing. Well, there's always, some special reason why we're getting the
Okay, I
better
just kind of
deal.
wondered that if they went.
But no, he's out there ratting the cages, so.
All right, good job, thank you.
Anything else, council? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the board of control's recommendation to authorize the purchase order to Purvis Brothers Fuel in an amount not to exceed $18,608.26 to retire the debt, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Pay off another.
Like it.
Yes. And you all see the footnote, pricing policy for the Oakdale Cemetery, and read all that. Any questions on that while we're here? Okay, we'll move into citizens' comments. I lost all my citizens. They're out eating cake.
They're eating your cake.
That's right. We'll move into ordinances and resolutions. We have none for third reading, so we'll start with the second readings.
Resolution number 2411-16, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration of the City of Urbana to prepare and submit final application to participate in the Federal Aviation Administration Airport Improvement Program and to execute contracts as required and declaring an emergency.
Okay, council, second reading. Questions? Mr. Pena?
I have none.
Mr. Piper?
I have none.
Mr. Fields?
I have none.
Mr. Hoffman?
No, sir.
Mr. Paul?
Nope.
Mr. Scott?
None, thank you.
Mr. Thacker?
No.
Okay. Want to say anything about it?
I'd like to, again, this is something we've been doing for the last number of years. It's an annual grant that we apply for. It's about $150,000 a year, and we've been spending the money for the most part over the last number of years on hard surfaces, asphalt, and that type of thing. The project for 2016 is extension of taxiway C, which would allow us to give another route out to the runway, the taxiways, get it away with the bottleneck down around the fuel pump and the terminal building. So right now, if you have a lot of activity on a good day, everybody has to funnel through, call it the hourglass, everybody's funneling through there where they try to fuel and terminal, and people that need to go to the T-hangars or other hangar areas, they just have to kind of work their way through it. So this will give us an opportunity to come off one of the taxiways and move directly towards the T-hangar area. The other one is to prepare the tarmac or the taxiway for the anticipated next T-hangar. We have some interest in building another set of T-hangars by a private individual who is still working through the private for the finalizing his plans to see if it's going to fly. But part of that is if they build the T-hangars, the FAA will not pay for T-hangars, but they will pay for the taxiway between. So then he'll have to connect with an apron out to the taxiway. So it's just an extension of the taxiway for the T-hangars as well. So those are the two areas primarily going to focus on in 2016.
Anything else, council? We'll declare resolution number 2411-16 to have had a second reading. That was our last second reading. Move right on into first readings.
Resolution number 2477-16, a resolution authorizing the Director of Administration to submit an application for an Ohio fiscal year 2016 local government safety capital grant program from the Ohio Development Services Agency.
This must be you, Chief.
This is me. And just for clarification, I do need to declare an emergency on this as well, because it's due on the 23rd of March.
So you want rules suspended?
If possible.
Okay.
See if we can convince them. How's that?
That'd be great.
All right.
Free money. No. This grant actually is something we weren't aware of. It was announced on February 16th and opened up on February 16th for applications. What it is Ohio for fiscal year 2016 and fiscal year 2017, they have set aside $10 million for safety services or safety capital expenditures. Each political jurisdiction is entitled to or can receive up to $100,000 max. We would like to do a couple things with this grant. We can put in for multiple grants, as long as it doesn't exceed that $100,000. We are looking at a county-wide grant that may absorb about anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 to purchase hazmat trailers for our hazmat response. Something that we've worked on. We have a county-wide hazmat team, but our county hazmat truck that is in our bays is 35 years old now, and it's pretty much at the end of its life cycle. So our plan is to purchase a couple of trailers, have them strategically put throughout the county, and be able to respond to hazardous materials incidents. Along with that, we would like to purchase a new utility truck and upgrade our current one, which is a 2001. We purchased it used from Home Depot, and we'd like to upgrade that and also possibly have some other capabilities with that as a chase vehicle. That's what we use as a chase vehicle for medic runs if they need assistance. So we're looking at right around $50,000 for that truck. It would have a plow on it as well. We do run into occasions where we need to plow ahead of the medic unit, or if it's a long driveway, since we responded to rural areas, we'll hit the driveway real quick. We used to do this with our Grasshopper, our old International that we had, which we haven't had for a while, and it kind of hampered our response a little bit, not having that. So that's kind of the plans. We would also, with what's money's left over, we'd like to buy some equipment, whether it be for the ambulance or for firefighting. And I'll come to you with more details, of course, when, if we're awarded the grant. We'll apply for the grant on March 23rd. We will probably find out by the end of May if we get it. There is zero match on this grant as well.
Okay, council, you want to ask questions, or you want to make a motion and ask questions?
Let's do the questions first.
Mr. Pena,
He's not
questions?
No, I have no questions.
Mr. Ray? Piper, I'm sorry. Reverted there for a minute.
No question.
Mr. Fields?
We can do this with the emergency with no problem.
There's got to be a motion to amend and make it an emergency, but yeah.
I'll make that motion.
We'll ask some questions about the grant first.
Part of it. But
Then nobody else can ask questions.
I like the free money and, put Jason to work.
It's actually our tax dollars coming back, but...
Yeah. Mr. Hoffman?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a point to that. I mean, we do talk about free money, and while I hate the way we give our money away, then we beg for it to come back after it gets skimmed, right? They skim a little bit, and then they give us back a little bit. Typically, they require a match. In this case, they don't. So you got to take your tax dollars back where you can get them. I do think these are good purchases, but we got to go after it, especially when it's a 0% match. If we don't get this money, some other community is going to take it. So it's, in my opinion, let's bring it back here to Champaign County. So thank you.
Mr. Paul?
So what I hear, Chief, is we're roughly splitting this 50-50 with the county. Is that about right?
The county-wide portion of it, it would be all the departments applying for the grant. We won't pay anything for that ourselves.
So you're all going in basically as
right.
one?
But since we're all capped at $100,000 each, that $30,000, if it's $30,000, comes out of our $100,000. They can't, because we're part of that group.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Okay. So everybody's capped at 100,000?
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so you're looking for some additional merchandise as well as a utility truck and the hazmat trailer, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Scott?
No questions, thanks, Chief.
Mr. Thackeray?
I'm with Mr. Hoffman on it. If we don't get it, somebody else is going to take it, so
that's right.
I'm supportive of it.
Mr. Fields? Now you can make your motion.
No.
No.
Sorry, Chief.
I'd like to make a motion that we amend this to
Suspend the rules?
suspend the rules and
Place it on passage?
place it on passage, the emergency language. Is that all right?
Pass it tonight. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Any further questions? Or comments? Roll call on a suspension, please.
Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Mr. Thackeray?
Yes.
Mr. Piper?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Fields?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call on the passage, please.
Mr. Thackeray?
Yes.
Mr. Piper?
Yes.
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Fields?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Okay, resolution, 247716. You got it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Chief.
You got a stamp?
A what?
You got a stamp to send it in tomorrow?
Pretty close.
Okay. Next one, please.
Resolution number 2478-16. A resolution to authorize the mayor or his designated representative to make application to the Champaign County Commissioners under the fiscal year 2016 Community Development Block Grant Community Development Program, and to further authorize the mayor or his designated representative to pursue other economic development and public infrastructure related CDBG programs.